Welcome back for Hamlet Act IV. Polonius has been killed by Hamlet, accidentally, but Polonius's fault somewhat because he insists on hiding and eavesdropping on people. And Hamlet has been sent to England because he's become dangerous. He's starting to kill people. And of course, we know uh, that Claudius has a guilty conscience. Claudius knows that Hamlet potentially is a danger to him because he has killed Hamlet's dad. Um, no one else but Horatio knows this is going on. So in Act 4, we start out in the castle, and the king and queen come in with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Remember, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern have been tasked with taking letters to England, taking Hamlet to England, ostensibly to collect back taxes, tribute, but really to get Hamlet out of the way because he's dangerous. The king says, "There's matter in these sighs, these profound heaves. You must translate. 'Tis fit we understand them. Where is your son?" He's talking to the queen, and apparently she's sighing. She seems upset. And he says, "There's matter in these sighs. What's wrong?" She says to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, "Bestow this place on us a little while." This is a polite way of saying, "Please leave us alone for a moment." They leave, and she says, "Ah, mine own lord, what have I seen tonight?" "What, Gertrude? How does Hamlet?" "Mad as the sea and wind, when both contend which is the mightier. In his lawless fit, behind the arras, hearing something stir, whips out his rapier, cries, 'A rat, a rat!' and in this brainish apprehension kills the unseen good old man." The king says, "Oh, heavy deed! It had been so with us, had we been there. Absolutely. If I had been hiding behind that curtain, he would have killed me. His liberty is full of threats to all, to you yourself, to us, to everyone. And how shall this bloody deed be answered? It will be laid to us, whose providence should have kept short, restrained, and out of haunt this mad young man. Everybody's going to blame us for Polonius's death, because we should have known that Hamlet was dangerous and we didn't do anything about it. But so much was our love, we would not understand what was most fit. But like the owner of a foul disease, to keep it from divulging, let it feed even on the pith of life." Where is he gone? "To draw apart the body he hath killed, or whom his very madness, like some ore among a mineral of metals base, shows itself pure. He weeps for what is done." She says, even though he might be crazy, like a mix of base minerals, base metals, he's got purity in there because he knows he did something wrong. She thinks he is crazy. He was talking to nobody. He was talking to his father, but she didn't see him. "Oh, Gertrude, come away. The sun no sooner shall the mountains touch, but we will ship him hence. And this vile deed we must, with all our majesty and skill, both countenance and excuse. Ho, Guildenstern!" And they come back. "Friends both, go join you with some further aid. Hamlet in madness hath Polonius slain, and from his mother's closet hath he dragged him. Go seek him out, speak fair, and bring the body into the chapel. I pray you, haste in this." And they go off to find Polonius. "Come, Gertrude, we'll call up our wisest friends and let them know both what we mean to do and what's untimely done. Whose whisper o'er the world's diameter, as level as the cannon to his blank, transports his poisoned shot, may miss our name and hit the woundless air." We need to let everybody know what's happened so that perhaps the shot of revenge and anger that's aimed at us will miss our name and hit the woundless air. "Oh, come away. My soul is full of discord and dismay." All right. Scene 2, we're still in the castle, and we see Hamlet coming out from wherever he has placed Polonius's body, and he says, "Safely stowed." And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern come in. "Hamlet! Lord Hamlet!" But soft, what noise? Who calls on Hamlet? Oh, here they come. What have you done, my lord, with the dead body? Compounded it with dust, where 'tis kin. Tell us where 'tis, that we may take it thence and bear it to the chapel. Do not believe it. Believe what? That I can keep your counsel and not mine own. Besides, to be demanded of a sponge, what replication should be made by the son of a king? Take you me for a sponge, my lord? Ay, sir, that soaks up the king's countenance, his rewards, his authorities. But such officers do the king best service in the end. He keeps them, like an ape an apple, in the corner of his jaw, first mouthed, to be last swallowed. When he needs what you have gleaned, it is but squeezing you, and sponge, you shall be dry again. Hamlet knows that the king is just using Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. I don't know if Rosencrantz and Guildenstern know that Hamlet knows as much as he does. They think he's nuts. And so he says, the king is using you like a sponge. You soak up whatever is needed, and then you just drain it dry, and that's what the king's going to do to you. Rosencrantz says, I understand you not, my lord. I'm glad of it. A knavish speech sleeps in a foolish ear. My lord, you must tell us where the body is and go with us to the king. The body is with the king, but the king is not with the body. The king is a thing. A thing, my lord? Of nothing. Bring me to him. Now, in some editions, mine's in parentheses, it says, hide, fox, and all after, insinuating that Hamlet then runs off. And he's going to play hide and seek with them. See if they can catch him. Okay, scene 3. We're still in the castle. And the king says, I have sent to seek him and to find the body. How dangerous is it that this man goes loose? Yet must not we put the strong law on him? He's loved of the distracted multitude, who like not in their judgment, but their eyes, and where 'tis so, the offender's scourge is weighed, but never the offense. He says we can't put the strong law on him because everybody loves him. He's loved of the distracted multitude, who do not judge well. It says when they weigh the offender's scourge, they weigh the punishment, but never the offense. To bear all smooth and even, this sudden sending of him away must seem deliberate pause. Diseases desperate grown, by desperate appliance are relieved, or not at all. So we need to make it look just gentle and easy, not like we're scrambling. We just sent him on a trip. We need to not upset the people who love Hamlet and not offend the people who are going to be calling out for some sort of justice for the death of Polonius. Then he hears Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and others. How now? What hath befallen? Where the dead body is bestowed, my lord, we cannot get from him. But where is he? Without, my lord, guarded, to know your pleasure. Bring him before us. Oh, bring in the lord. And they bring in Hamlet. Now, Hamlet, where's Polonius? At supper. At supper? Where? Not where he eats, but where he's eaten. A certain convocation of politic worms are e'en at him. Your worm is your only emperor for diet. We fat all creatures else to fat us, and we fat ourselves for maggots. Your fat king and your lean beggar is but one variable service. 2 dishes, but to 1 table. There's the end. Alas, alas, the king thinks he's talking crazy. He's actually talking very sanely. Death is the end for all of us. We're all, not to put it in too nasty way, we're all food for worms eventually, including the king. Hamlet says, a man may fish with the worm that hath eat of a king, and eat of the fish that hath fed of that worm. What dost thou mean by this? Nothing, but to show you how a king may go a progress through the guts of a beggar. Where is Polonius? In heaven. Send thither to see him. If your messenger find him not there, seek him in the other place yourself. Send to heaven. Send a messenger to heaven. If you don't find Polonius in heaven, I guess he's in hell, and you can go there and look for him yourself. But if indeed you find him not within this month, you shall nose him as you go up the stairs into the lobby. He's going to start smelling if you don't find him within the month. Go, seek him there. He will stay till you come. They all leave, and the king's alone with Hamlet. Hamlet, this deed for thine especial safety, which we do tender, as we dearly grieve for that which thou hast done, must send thee hence with fiery quickness. Therefore prepare thyself. The bark is ready, and the wind at help, the associates tend, and everything is bent for England. For England? Aye, Hamlet. Good. So is it, if thou knewest our purposes. I see a cherub that sees them. But come, for England. Farewell, dear mother. He's talking to his uncle. Farewell, dear mother. Thy loving father, Hamlet. My mother. Father and mother is man and wife. Man and wife is one flesh. And so, my mother. Come, for England. He leaves, and he sends messengers after. Follow him at foot. Tempt him with speed aboard. Delay it not. I'll have him hence tonight. Away, for everything is sealed and done that else leans on the affair. Pray you, make haste. Everything's ready. Get him on that ship. Now, they leave him alone, and he adds something. And England, if my love thou hold'st at aught, as my great power thereof may give thee sense, since yet thy, I don't know how to pronounce, cicatrice looks raw and red after the Danish sword, and thy free awe pays homage to us. Thou mayst not coldly set our sovereign process, which imports it full, by letters congruing to that effect, the present death of Hamlet. Remember he said he has letters on board, letters sealed for the rulers of England? He says, oh, everything's ready, and then he adds, England, if you love me, if we have a good relationship as countries with each other, then you will do what I've asked you to do in the letters, and it is kill Hamlet. Do it, England, for like the hectic in my blood he rages, and thou must cure me. Till I know 'tis done, howe'er my haps, my joys were ne'er begun. Okay, scene 4. Do you remember in Act 1, Fortinbras, the nephew of the former king of Norway, was stirring up trouble, and they sent ambassadors to his uncle saying, stop him from stirring up trouble. And his uncle said, okay, I'm going to send him on an expedition to Poland, since he's already raised money and soldiers. And he's asking for leave to pass through Denmark on his way. And King Claudius said, yes, that's fine. We meet this Fortinbras now. He's on his way with soldiers to Poland. Fortinbras says, go, captain. From me greet the Danish king. Tell him that, by his license, Fortinbras craves the conveyance of a promised march over his kingdom. You know the rendezvous. If that his majesty would aught with us, we shall express our duty in his eye, and let him know so. I will do it, my lord. So everybody walks off, and he's left this captain charged with going to the Danish king and saying, hey, remember you said we could go through your lands. We're doing that. If there's anything else you want from us, let us know. The captain leaves, and in come Hamlet, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern, and the others on their way to the ship to go to England. And Hamlet addresses the captain. He says, good sir, what powers are these? They are of Norway, sir. How purposed, sir, I pray you? Against some part of Poland. Who commands them, sir? the nephew to old Norway, Fortinbras. Goes it against the main of Poland, sir, or for some frontier? Are they attacking all of Poland or just some outlying area? Truly to speak, and with no addition, we go to gain a little patch of ground that hath in it no profit but the name. We're going to take a little bit of ground from Poland that's not even worth it. To pay 5 ducats, 5, I would not farm it, nor will it yield to Norway or the Pole a ranker rate should it be sold in fee. What? Then the Polak will never defend it. Why would the Polish defend this land that's worth nothing? Oh, the captain says, yes, it's already garrisoned. 2,000 souls and 20,000 ducats will not debate the question of this straw. This is the imposthume of much wealth and peace that inward breaks and shows no cause without why the man dies. I humbly thank you, sir. He says, this is like a boil, an inward disease that breaks inside and it kills a person, but you don't see what killed them. It was an interior disease. This seems to have no reason. Why would they go attack this bit of ground that's worthless? And why would the Polish be defending it? Why didn't they just give it away? He says, I humbly thank you, sir. The captain answers, God buy you, sir, and leaves. Rosencrantz says, well, will it please you to go, my lord? I'll be with you straight. Go a little before. And they walk before, and he's walking behind and talking to himself. How all occasions do inform against me, and spur my dull revenge. What is a man, if his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed? A beast, no more. Sure he that made us with such large discourse, looking before and after, gave us not that capability and godlike reason to fuss in us unused. Now, whether it be bestial oblivion, or some craven scruple of thinking too precisely on the event, a thought which, quartered, hath but 1 part wisdom, and ever 3 parts coward. I do not know why yet I live to say, this thing's to do, sith I have cause and will and strength and means to do it. And he said, God didn't create us to be unreasoning beasts. He didn't give us that godlike reason to be unused. But I'm not using it. People don't use it. He says, I don't understand why I still have the ability to say, I haven't done it yet. I still need to take revenge for my dad. Haven't done it. Examples gross as earth exhort me. Witness this army of such mass and charge, led by a delicate and tender prince, whose spirit with divine ambition, puffed, makes mouths at the invisible event, exposing what is mortal and unsure to all that fortune, death, and danger dare, even for an eggshell. Look at this army. For nothing, for ambition, they are marching through, they're exposing what is mortal to all that fortune, death, and danger dare. They're exposing their very lives, even for an eggshell. Rightly to be great is not to stir without great argument, but greatly to find quarrel in a straw when honor's at the stake. It's not great. To be great is not to stir without great argument. That's not to be great. But greatly to find a quarrel in a straw if it involves your honor. He thinks Fortinbras is doing this for honor. What about Hamlet's honor? His father was murdered. How stand I then, that have a father killed, a mother stained, excitements of my reason and my blood, and let all sleep, while to my shame I see the imminent death of 20,000 men, that for a fantasy and a trick of fame go to their graves like beds, fight for a plot whereon the numbers cannot try the cause, which is not tomb enough and continent to hide the slain. Oh, from this time forth my thoughts be bloody, or nothing worth. All right. In scene 5, we are back at the castle. Horatio the queen, and a gentleman are present. The queen says, I will not speak with her. The gentleman says, she is importunate, indeed distract. Her moods will need be pitied. The queen says, what would she have? She speaks much of her father, says she hears there's tricks in the world, and hymns, and beats her heart, spurns enviously at straws, speak things in doubt that carry but half sense. Her speech is nothing, yet the unshaped use of it doth move the hearers to collection. They yawn at it, and botch the words up to fit their own thoughts, which, as her winks and nods and gestures yield them, indeed would make one think that there might be thought, though nothing sure, yet much unhappily. They're talking about a woman, and she's wandering around saying crazy stuff. But the crazy stuff seems to have meat in it, and he says each person botches up the words to fit his own thoughts. Each person thinks, I know what she means, but we're not sure she means anything. Who is this? Horatio says, 'twere good she were spoken with, for she may strew dangerous conjectures in ill-breeding minds. The queen says, let her come in. He goes out to get her, and the queen says, to my sick soul, as sin's true nature is, each toy seems prologue to some great amiss. So full of artless jealousy is guilt, it spills itself in fearing to be spilt. Gertrude has taken Hamlet's talking to heart, and she says her soul is sick. And guilt wants to stay hidden, you know. It spills itself in fearing to be spilt. And then we find out who they're talking about. It's Ophelia, Polonius's daughter, and she's described as being distracted. Ophelia says, where is the beauteous majesty of Denmark? How now, Ophelia? And she sings. I'm not going to try to sing, but she sings this. How should I your true love know from another one? By his cockle hat and staff, and his sandal shoon. The queen says, alas, sweet lady, what imports this song? Say you? Nay, pray you, mark. He is dead and gone, lady, he is dead and gone. At his head a grass-green turf, and at his heels a stone. Oh. Nay, but Ophelia, pray you, mark. White his shroud as the mountain snow. And she continues singing, but the king comes in. The queen says, alas, look here, my lord. She goes on, lard it all with flowers, which be wept to the ground did not go with true love showers. The king says, how do you, pretty lady? Well, God hold you. They say the owl was a baker's daughter. Lord, we know what we are, but we know not what we may be. God be at your table. The king says, conceit upon her father. In other words, she's gone distracted, she's gone mad, because her father's been murdered. She says, pray, let's have no words of this, but when they ask you what it means, say you this. Tomorrow is St. Valentine's Day, all in the morning betime, and I a maid at your window to be your Valentine. Then up he rose and donned his clothes and upped the chamber door, let in the maid that out a maid never departed more. The king says, pretty Ophelia. Indeed, la, without an oath, I'll make an end on it. By Gis and by Saint Charity, alack and fie for shame. Young men will do it if they come to it. By cock, they are to blame. Quoth she, before you tumbled me, you promised me to wed. He answers, so would I have done by yonder sun, and thou hadst not come to my bed. Singing songs about broken off love now. The king says, how long hath she been thus? Ophelia says, I hope all will be well. We must be patient, but I cannot choose but weep to think that they would lay him in the cold ground. My brother shall know of it, and so I thank you for your good counsel. Come, my coach. Good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies. Good night, good night. And she leaves. The king says, follow her close. Give her good watch, I pray you. keep an eye on her and make sure she doesn't hurt anyone or herself. And Horatio leaves to follow her. And the king says, "Oh, this is the poison of deep grief. It springs all from her father's death. And now, behold, oh, Gertrude, Gertrude, when sorrows come, they come not single spies, but in battalions. First, her father slain, next, your son gone, and he most violent author of his own just remove. The people muddied, thick and unwholesome in their thoughts and whispers for good Polonius's death, and we have done but greenly in hugger-mugger to inter him." In other words, we hastened the funeral. We buried him in haste and secretly because we just didn't want the whole thing to get out, and now it makes us look guilty. Poor Ophelia, divided from herself and her fair judgment, without the which we are pictures or mere beasts. Last, and as much containing as all these, her brother is in secret come from France, feeds on his wonder, keeps himself in clouds, and wants not buzzers to infect his ear with pestilent speeches of his father's death, where in necessity, of matter beggared, will nothing stick our person to arraign in ear and ear. Laertes has come home from France because he found out his dad is dead, and he's found out it's being hushed up, and he wants answers. And so he's kind of come back in secret, but he's gathering partisans who don't like the king, and they are filling his ears with bad talk about the court. "Oh, my dear Gertrude, this, like to a murdering piece, in many places gives me superfluous death." And then they hear a noise. "Alack, what noise is this? Attend, where are my Switzers? Let them guard the door. The king is calling for guards." And a messenger comes in. He says, "What is the matter?" "Save yourself, my lord. The ocean, overpowering of his list, eats not the flats with more impiteous haste than young Laertes in a riotous head o'erbears your officers. The rabble call him lord. And as the world were now but to begin, antiquity forgot, custom not known, the ratifiers and props of every word, they cry, 'Choose we, Laertes shall be king.' Caps, hands, and tongues applaud it to the clouds. 'Laertes shall be king, Laertes king.'" Laertes has arrived at the castle doors with his rabble, with his rebel force, and they're crying out for Laertes to be king. He says, "The ocean does not eat up the flats, the sand, faster than Laertes' group is eating up your kingdom." The queen says, "How cheerfully on the false trail they fly. Oh, this is counter, you false Danish dogs. You're barking up the wrong tree. We didn't kill Polonius. We're not guilty." Laertes rushes in with others, and the king says, "The doors are broke." Laertes says, "Where is this king? Sirs, stand you all without." "No, let's come in." "I pray you, give me leave." We will. And his crowd withdraws. Laertes says, "I thank you. Keep the door." "Oh, thou vile king, give me my father." The queen says calmly, "Good Laertes, that drop of blood that's calm proclaims me bastard, cries cuckold to my father, brands the harlot even here between the chaste, unsmirched brow of my true mother. If there is a drop of blood in me that is calm like the queen wants him to be, then my dad isn't really my dad. There's not a drop of blood that is going to be calm or should be calm about this." "What is the cause, Laertes, that thy rebellion looks so giant-like? Let him go, Gertrude. Do not fear for our person. There such divinity doth hedge a king, that treason can but peep to what it would, acts little of his will." Claudius says, "Don't worry about me, Gertrude. There's a divinity that hedges in a king. There's divine protection on a king, that rebellion, treason can only peep." Really? Where was the divine protection when he killed his brother, the king? I feel like he's forgotten very, very quickly that he's not safe. His brother wasn't safe. "Tell me, Laertes, why thou art thus incensed? Let him go, Gertrude. Speak, man." "Where is my father?" "Dead." The queen says, but not by him. The king, oh, let him demand his fill. How came he dead? I'll not be juggled with. To hell allegiance, vows to the blackest devil, conscience and grace to the profoundest pit. I dare damnation. To this point I stand, that both the worlds I give to negligence. Let come what comes, only I'll be revenged most thoroughly for my father. I don't care what happens. I dare damnation. I will. I will be revenged of my father. Is there someone else in this play who should be revenged of his father? Is he acting like this? He's not. He's not. The king says, who shall stay you? My will, not all the world's. I will stop when my will is satisfied. I'm not going to do it for anyone else. My will stop me, not all the world's. And for my means, I'll husband them so well they shall go far with little. I don't need many. I think he's insinuating that justice is on his side. The king says, good Laertes, if you desire to know the certainty of your dear father, is writ in your revenge that swoopstake you will draw both friend and foe, winner and loser? Okay, you want to know what happened to your father? It is part of your revenge deal that you're going to take everybody down? Or friend and foe alike? He says, none but his enemies. Will you know them then? To his good friends, thus wide I'll ope my arms, and like the kind life-rendering pelican, repast them with my blood. Why, now you speak like a good child and a true gentleman, that I am guiltless of your father's death, and am most sensibly in grief for it. It shall as level to your judgment peer as day does to your eye. And then there's a noise outside that somebody yells, let her come in. Laertes says, how now? What noise is that? And Ophelia comes in. And Ophelia is quite painfully, obviously not right. And Laertes says, oh, heat dry up my brains. Tears 7 times salt burn out the sense and virtue of mine eye. By heaven, thy madness shall be paid with weight till our scale turn the beam. Oh, Rose of May, dear maid, kind sister, sweet Ophelia. Oh, heavens, is it possible a young maid's wits should be as mortal as an old man's life? Nature is fine in love, and where 'tis fine it sends some precious instance of itself after the thing it loves. She sent her wits after her father. And she is still singing. They bore him barefaced on the bier, hey non nonny, nonny hey nonny, and in his grave rained many a tear. Fare you well, my dove. Laertes says, hadst thou thy wits, and didst persuade revenge, it could not move thus. If Ophelia had come in fully sane and said, Laertes, I beg you to revenge our father, that begging couldn't do half as much as her coming in completely bonkers. How much that is persuading him that revenge is necessary. Now he's got 2 revenges. Revenge for his dad, revenge for his sister. She continues, you must sing a down, and you call him a downa. Oh, how the wheel becomes it. It is the false steward that stole his master's daughter. Laertes says, this nothing's more than matter. And she's got flowers. She's handing them out. There's rosemary, that's for remembrance. Pray you, love, remember. And there's pansies, that's for thoughts. A document in madness, thoughts and remembrance fitted. There's fennel for you and columbines. There's rue for you, and here's some for me. We may call it herba grace Sundays. You may wear your rue with a difference. There's a daisy. I would give you some violets, but they withered all when my father died. They say he made a good end. For bonny sweet Robin is all my joy. Laertes says, thoughts and afflictions, passion, hell itself, she turns to favor and to prettiness. She makes everything, just the worst, look beautiful because of her beauty, even without her reason. Ophelia goes on, and will he not come again? And will he not come again? No, no, he is dead. Go to thy deathbed, he never will come again. His beard was as white as snow, all flaxen was his pall. He is gone, and we castaway moan, God a mercy on his soul. And of all Christian souls, I pray God, God by you. And she leaves again. Laertes says, do you see this, O God? Laertes, I must commune with your grief, or you deny me right, but go apart. Go but apart. Make choice of whom your wisest friends you will, and they shall hear and judge twixt you and me. If by direct or by collateral hand they find us touched, we will our kingdom give, our crown, our life, and all that we call ours, to you in satisfaction. But if not, be you content to lend your patience to us, and we shall jointly labor with your soul to give it due content. Look, let's have a meeting. You go call some trusted friends. We're going to have a meeting. I'm going to tell you the whole story. And if you think we had something to do with this, great. You can take my life, you can take my crown, you can take the kingdom. But if you don't think I had anything to do with this, let's work together. Let's work together to make this right. Laertes says, let this be so. His means of death, his obscure funeral, no trophy, sword, or hatchment or his bones, no noble rite, nor formal ostentation, cry to be heard, as 'twere from heaven to earth, that I must call it in question. The king says, so you shall, and where the offense is, let the great axe fall. I pray you, go with me. So they go off to have their conference, and we're still in the castle, and Horatio encounters a gentleman. Horatio says, what are they that would speak with me? The gentleman says, seafaring men, sir. They say they have letters for you. Let them come in. And they leave to get the sailors. And Horatio says, I do not know from what part of the world I should be greeted, if not from Lord Hamlet. The sailor comes in and he says, God bless you, sir. Let him bless thee too. I shall, sir, and please him. There's a letter for you, sir. It came from the ambassador that was bound for England. If your name be Horatio, as I am let to know it is. And he gives them a letter. Horatio opens the letter, and this is what he reads. Horatio, when thou shalt have overlooked this, give these fellows some means to the king. They have letters for him. Ere we were 2 days old at sea, a pirate of very warlike appointment gave us chase. Finding ourselves too slow of sail, we put on a compelled valor, and in the grapple I boarded them. On the instant they got clear of our ship, so I alone became their prisoner. On the way to England they were attacked by pirates, and they couldn't outrun them, so they grappled with them. The pirates boarded them. Well, the pirates got close enough to them that Hamlet jumped onto their ship. And then they separated, and now Hamlet was the pirate's prisoner. They have dealt with me like thieves of mercy, but they knew what they did. I am to do a good turn for them. Let the king have the letters I have sent, and repair thou to me with as much speed as thou wouldst fly death. I have words to speak in thine ear, will make thee dumb. Yet are they much too light for the bore of the matter. These good fellows will bring thee where I am. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern hold their course for England. Of them I have much to tell thee. Farewell. He that thou knowest thine, Hamlet. So, these sailors, these pirates, have letters for the king. Letters I have sent, Hamlet says. And they're going to give the letters to the king, and then they're going to bring you where I am waiting for you. Hamlet's back in England. Horatio says, come, I will give you way for these your letters, and do it the speedier that you may direct me to him from whom you brought them. Okay, into scene 7. The king and Laertes are having their little conference about who is really, really to blame about the death of Polonius. The king says, now must your conscience my acquittance seal, and you must put me in your heart for friend, sith you have heard, and with a knowing ear, that he which hath your noble father slain pursued my life. Oh, do we know that? I mean, we know he wants to kill Claudius. How does Claudius know Hamlet wants to kill him? The man who killed Polonius wants to kill me too. Laertes says, it well appears. But tell me why you proceeded not against these feats so criminal and so capital in nature, as by your safety, greatness, wisdom, all things else, you mainly were stirred up. Why didn't you do anything about it right away? Oh, for 2 special reasons. which may to you perhaps seem much unsinewed, but yet to me they're strong. The queen, his mother, lives almost by his looks. And for myself, my virtue or my plague, be it either which, she's so conjunctive to my life and soul, that as the star moves not but in his sphere, I could not but by her. All right. Reason number one, the queen loves him. It's her son. She lives by his looks, and the queen is important to me. Therefore, I want to do things that please her, and it pleases her to have Hamlet here. The other motive, why to a public count I might not go, is the great love the general gender bear him, who, dipping all his faults in their affection, would, like the spring that turneth wood to stone, convert his gyves to graces, so that my arrows, too slightly timbered for so loud a wind, would have reverted to my own bow again, and not where I had aimed them. The people love Hamlet, and any metaphorical arrows he tried to shoot at Hamlet would bend back and shoot at himself. They would rise up against him, blaming Hamlet for anything. Don't you dare say anything against Hamlet. That's how the general people would react. Laertes said, and so have I a noble father lost, a sister driven into desperate terms, whose worth it praises may go back again, stood challenger on mount of all the age for her perfections. My sister was the best woman in Denmark, but my revenge will come. The king says, break not your sleeps for that. Oh, don't lose any sleep, wondering whether or not your revenge will come. Oh, it will come. You must not think that we are made of stuff so flat and dull that we can let our beard be shook with danger and think it a pastime. You shortly shall hear more. I loved your father, and we love ourself, and that, I hope, will teach you to imagine. And then they're interrupted by a messenger with letters. He says, how now? What news? Letters, my lord, from Hamlet. These to your majesty, this to the queen. And he gives the letters. The king says, from Hamlet? Who brought them? What did the king think was going to happen? It said in the letter that when Hamlet got to England, the king of England was supposed to execute him. Hamlet's not supposed to be sending letters. Hamlet's supposed to be dead. The messenger says, sailors, my lord, they say. I saw them not. They were given me by Claudio. He received them of him who brought them. The king says, Laertes, you shall hear them. I'm going to read you these letters. Leave us. He reads, high and mighty, you shall know I am set naked on your kingdom. Tomorrow shall I beg leave to see your kingly eyes, when I shall, first asking your pardon thereunto, recount the occasion of my sudden and more strange return. Hamlet, I want to see you. I want to see you tomorrow. What should this mean? Are all the rest come back? Or is it some abuse, or no such thing? Laertes says, know you the hand? Does it look like his writing? 'Tis Hamlet's character. Naked. And it doesn't mean, he means unarmed. And in a postscript here, he says, alone. Can you devise me? Laertes says, I'm lost in it, my lord. But let him come. It warms the very sickness in my heart that I shall live and tell him to his teeth, thus didst thou. If it be so, Laertes, and as how should it be so? How otherwise? Will you be ruled by me? Ay, my lord, so you will not o'errule me to a peace. The king says, will you let me tell you what to do? Laertes says, as long as it's not make peace with him. To thine own peace. If he be now returned, as checking at his voyage, and that he means no more to undertake it, I will work him to an exploit, now ripe in my device, under the which he shall not choose but fall. And for his death no wind of blame shall breathe, but even his mother shall uncharge the practice and call it accident. I've got a plan, says the king. I've got a plan to get rid of Hamlet, and it's going to look like an accident. Laertes says, my lord, I will be ruled, the rather if you could devise it so that I might be the organ. It falls right. You have been talked of since your travel much, and that in Hamlet's hearing, for a quality wherein they say you shine. Your sum of parts did not together pluck such envy from him, as did that one, and that, in my regard, of the unworthiest siege. Laertes, since you've been gone, people who know you come back to Denmark and they talk about you, and there's one particular thing they talk about, and it makes Hamlet envious. They talk about a skill you have that makes him envious. What part is that, my lord? A very riband in the cap of youth, yet needful too, for youth no less becomes the light and careless livery that it wears than settled age his sables and his weeds, importing health and graveness. 2 months since, here was a gentleman of Normandy, I've seen myself, and served against the French, and they can well on horseback, but this gallant had witchcraft in it. He grew unto his seat, and to such wondrous doing brought his horse, as had he been encorpsed and demi-natured with the brave beast. So far he topped my thought that I, in forgery of shapes and tricks, come short of what he did. We had a guy here, a Norman, a couple months ago. He was an amazing horseback rider. He was amazing on horseback. A Norman, was it? A Norman. A Norman. Upon my life, Lamord. The king said, the very same. Laertes says, I know him well. He is the brooch indeed and gem of all the nation. The king says, he made confession of you and gave you such a masterly report for art and exercise in your defense, and for your rapier most especial, that he cried out, 'twould be a sight indeed if one could match you. The scrimers of their nation, he swore, had neither motion, guard, nor eye if you opposed them. Laertes is good with a sword. He's a great fencer. And this Norman Lamord, who's awesome, came in and said, oh, yeah, well, Laertes is really awesome. Boy, everybody in France that wants to, fence with Laertes, they get beat because he's wonderful. Sir, this report of his did Hamlet so envenom with his envy that he could nothing do but wish and beg your sudden coming o'er to play with you. When Hamlet heard this, he's like, oh man, I wish he'd come home. I'd like to try it. I'd like to fence with Laertes and see which one of us is better. Now, out of this, Laertes says, what out of this, my lord? Laertes, was your father dear to you? Or are you like the painting of a sorrow, a face without a heart? Why ask you this? Not that I think you did not love your father, but that I know love is begun by time, and that I see in passages of proof, time qualifies the spark and fire of it. There lives within the very flame of love a kind of wick or snuff that will abate it, and nothing is at a like goodness still. For goodness, growing to a pleurisy, dies in his own too much. That we would do, we should do when we would, for this would changes, and hath abatements and delays, as many as there are tongues and our hands are accidents. And then this should is like a spendthrift sigh that hurts by easing. So I am asking if you love your father, not because I think you don't, but you're on fire for revenge now, but is this going to be just a flaming sudden spark? Or are you going to stick with it? How much do you really, really want to revenge your father? Because sometimes love cools over time. Is your love going to cool over time, Laertes? But to the quick of the ulcer, Hamlet comes back. What would you undertake to show yourself your father's son, in deed, more than in words? What would you do to prove that you're your father's son? Laertes says, to cut his throat in the church. The king says, no place indeed should murder sanctuarize. Revenge should have no bounds. But, good Laertes, will you do this? Keep close within your chamber. Hamlet returned shall know you are come home. Will put on those shall praise your excellence and set a double varnish on the fame the Frenchman gave you. Bring you in fine together and wager on your heads. We're going to tell Hamlet, oh, Laertes is back, and we're just going to talk you up big time. Double what the other guy said about how good you are. We'll bring you together and we'll bet on a fencing match between you. He, being remiss, most generous, and free from all contriving, will not peruse the foils. Hamlet's going to be all fired up. He's not going to suspect anything. He's not going to go examine the swords. He's just going to go pick one. So that with ease, or with a little shuffling, you may choose a sword unbaited. Laertes, we're going to make sure your sword isn't dulled. It doesn't have a safety. The safety is off. It's sharp. It's not just a fencing sword anymore for play. And in a passive practice, requite him for your father. He says, I will do it. And for that purpose, I'll anoint my sword. I bought an unction of a mountebank so mortal that, but dip a knife in it, where it draws blood, no cataplasm so rare, collected from all simples that have virtue under the moon, can save the thing from death that is but scratched withal. I'll touch my point with this contagion, that if I gall him slightly, it may be death. Laertes one-ups it. Yeah, I'll pick the sharp sword, and I'll make sure it's been stuck in poison previously. Even if I can't completely stab him, if I just nick him, the poison will get in and it'll kill him. The king says, let's further think of this. Weigh what convenience, both of time and means, may fit us to our shape. If this should fail, and that our drift look through our bad performance, 'twere better not essayed. If we don't think we can pull this off, we ought not to do it at all. Because if somebody finds out what we're up to, it's going to make us look really bad. Let's make sure we've got it all planned out. Therefore, this project should have a back or a second that might hold if this did blast and prove. Soft, let me see. We'll make a solemn wager on your cunnings. Have it. When in your motion you are hot and dry, as make your bouts more violent to that end, and that he calls for drink, I'll have prepared him a chalice for the nonce, wherein but sipping, if he by chance escape your venomed stuck, our purpose may hold there. All right. Line 3. We will also poison a drink. And so, hey, Laertes, make him run around a lot during the fencing match, and then if you aren't able to nick him, he'll get hot, and he'll say, oh, let's take a break and have a drink. And I'll bring him a cup and say, oh, have a drink, Hamlet. And the cup is poisoned. They hear a cry, and he says, but stay, what noise? And the queen comes in, and she says, one woe doth tread upon another's heel, so fast they follow. Your sister's drowned, Laertes. Drowned? Oh, where? There is a willow, grows askant the brook, that shows his hoar leaves in the glassy stream. Therewith fantastic garlands did she make of crowflowers, nettles, daisies, and long purples, that liberal shepherds give a grosser name, but our cold maids do deadman's fingers call them. There on this pendant boughs her crownet weeds clambering to hang, an envious sliver broke, when down her weedy trophies and herself fell in the weeping brook. She liked to go to this place on this willow tree branch and collect flowers and garlands, and she was reaching out on the branch over the river to pick flowers, and it broke. And she fell in the water. Her clothes spread wide, and mermaid-like a while they bore her up, which time she chanted snatches of old lauds, as one incapable of her own distress, or like a creature native and endued unto that element. But long it could not be till that her garments, heavy with their drink, pulled the poor wretch from her melodious lay to muddy death. Alas, then is she drowned? Drowned. Too much of water hast thou, O poor Ophelia, therefore I forbid my tears. But yet it is our trick. Nature her custom holds. Let shame say what it will. And he cries, when these are gone, the woman will be out. When the tears are gone, the woman will be out. Adieu, my lord. I have a speech of fire that fain would blaze, but that this folly drowns it. This folly is his tears. He leaves, and the king says, let's follow, Gertrude. How much I had to do to calm his rage. Now fear I this will give it start again. Therefore, let's follow. All right, that takes us to the end of Act 4. I'll see you next time for Act 5.